Hi everyone, let's talk books. And when you are seeing this, I will have just posted my September wrap up. It's November. Yes, it's very, very late. And I have a million different excuses, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to film a reading vlog this week and kind of catch everyone up on everything that's been going on in my life and a little bit on my reading live here. But today I want to talk about the books that I read in October because I did read some books in October and I wanted to share them with everybody. So the first book that I finished in October was Itza, and this was part of the Latinx readathon, which I did try to participate in, and I did so. I got a few books read, but not as many as I hoped. October is usually a really busy month for me, and so that's just what happened. But I did read this one. This was the readathon book, group book, and it's about a family that lives in a border town, and it says it's about a family of water witches and all that. And there is magical realism in this book, but it's really the story of one of the girls and the trauma that she goes through, and then how she deals with the trauma. I don't remember I didn't give this a rating on Goodreads. I think for me it would be like a 3-star book. There were elements in here that I really enjoyed, but there were also parts of the writing that felt really rough to me, not as polished maybe, but there's enough here that I would read this author again in a heartbeat. And I did enjoy elements of here. There were other parts that were just too poetic and felt more like a poem and less like a novel to me. So that's my 2 cents on that one. The next book I read was an ebook, and it was the infamous Miss Rodriguez, A Ciudad, Real Novella by Lydia San Andres. And so this one is set in the Caribbean, and you follow, it's a novella, by the way. I did not know it was a novella when I bought it, but I heard really good things in it, and so I picked it up. And it's about a woman, Miss Rodriguez, who is engaged to marry one of the wealthiest men in town, and she doesn't want to marry him, and she's trying to do everything in her power to try to make herself unsuitable for as a marriage match for him, and finally she succeeds. Spoiler alert. But it was a really cute, really nice little novella. I think I would give it a 3.5 or 4 stars. Really captivating. It was just this could have been a book. There were parts that needed more development, I felt, in the story, and so I really wish that had been a book rather than a novella, because I like the story so much, basically. But the next book that I read is that gigantic book, and I listened to it in an audiobook, so it actually took me over a month to finish listening to it. But it's World Without End by Ken Follett. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but this is the first Ken Follett book that I read, and I loved it. I really, really loved it. It's the second in the Kingbridge series, because he'd written the first book, Pillars of the Earth, set in this English town in not the Middle Ages, it's pre-Middle Ages, and then this was basically in the Middle Ages, so around, I think it was 1300s. I have to double check that, 13 or 1400s. And then there's a third book that's set later during the Wars of Religion. So anyways, this one is set in a time in which the church rules, and in which everything in this town, it becomes a political decision between the merchants, the church, and the interactions with the nobility. It's really political, and there's a lot of intrigue, there's romance. You delve into the lives of these characters. This book is over, it's 1,014 pages long, so it's a huge clunker of a book, and you're following the lives of a handful of individuals from basically the time they are kids into their deaths, essentially. And so you really get to know these characters. And I cannot even tell you how much I enjoyed being a part of these people's lives and how much I miss them. Like when I'm driving now and sometimes I'm listening to a different audiobook and I just like, I miss these people. I miss Kingsbridge. And I wanted to pick up the first and the third book, but the stories don't revolve around the same people. So I feel like, no, if I want to go back to Kingsbridge, I want to go back to the same people. So anyways, that's I really, really enjoyed it. This is a 5-star book for me. The historical elements of it were done so well. And I'm not an expert in early modern European history, but I know enough that I know he handled a lot of things really well in here. Even the things that this book sometimes gets criticized for being not as historically accurate, like the kind of like feminist elements in here are very true. Like they felt very true and very real to the epoch. So I loved it. And if you've read Ken Follett and you have other recommendations for what book I should pick up next from him, leave them down below, please, because I want to pick something else up from him. And he's written a lot, so it makes it a little bit hard to decide where to go next. And not in the Kingsbridge series. All right, the next book that I finished in October is I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erika L. Sánchez. And this book, I have to tell you, was the first 50 pages of this book, I hated it. I hated it because the main character is a whiny, complaining teenager. I really disliked her. Also, she like talks about the things that she likes and doesn't like about like her immigrant family and culture, and it was basically everything I love. But about after those 51st pages, I really got to love her. So it's the story of Julia. And she is the second daughter in this family. Her older sister, Olga, dies. And the family is clearly dealing with a lot of grief. And we get to see it through the eyes of this teenager. She's also battling depression. And there is a trigger warning here I should give for suicide attempt, and mental health issues. I love the way all of this was handled in the book. It made me feel like, as somebody, I'm the oldest of 4 kids. So of all the people that are described in this book, I connected most with Olga, the dead older sister. In that I think my siblings really do see me as like this perfect daughter, sibling person. And I'm not. And the main character here, Julia, reminded me a lot of my youngest sister. And probably a little bit of my other siblings, but I did feel once I finished reading this book like I understood her a little bit more, and I can't thank this book enough for that. So I'm giving it 4.5 stars, just because, like, who hates Mana? Julia hates Mana, and like Mana is life, so minus half a star. I am super petty. What can I say? All right. The next book that I finished in October was A Simple Favor by Darcey. This was my book club book for October, and I did really enjoy it. The main character is not the smartest person in the world, but there was the mystery kept me really intrigued. I ended up having a really good conversation with the book club over it. There were elements in here that I didn't like the ending. And so that's why I knocked this down to a 3-star. So it's a 3-star read for me. The mystery kept me intrigued enough, especially in the middle. But there were kind of rough parts in here where you're just like, what the hell is going on? And I hated the ending. Apparently they did change the ending for the movie. And the ending for the movie sounds better. So I think I will watch the movie at some point, but the ending in here I just did not like. And I feel like for thrillers, they kind of live and die by the mystery element and then by their ending. And so in that sense, this was just okay for me. So just my 2 cents there. All right, so second to last book that I finished in October is Final Girls by Riley Sager. And this is my first Riley Sager book, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars because it kept me guessing to the end. For me, I'm not someone who needs to guess the ending, so that's not the most important element for me. But this one really kept me on the edge of my seat for large chunks of it. It surprised me at the end, and I enjoyed it. This is another book though where the main character makes a lot of stupid decisions, and you're just like, what the hell is wrong with you? But there was good enough of a mystery, and it kept me guessing and wanting to know what would happen. At one point I had to look up the ending because I just needed to know, and to me that's a sign of a really good thriller. So this was very, very good for me. And then the last book that I finished in October, I read on ebook, and I believe it's number 8 in the In-Death series. It's Loyalty in Death. And the In-Death series for me by J.D. Robb, or Nora Roberts, is such a comfort food read. I love reading them in ebook because I can pull it up on my Kindle, read in bed, read wherever, and it's just like, I don't know, it's like a sweatpant read for me. This one followed a detective, Eve Dallas, and basically there's this group kind of taunting her. There's like a terrorist group, and I felt like that part was really well done. I didn't guess the ending until right up until the end, and I'm still continuing to love Detective Dallas's interactions with her husband Rourke. So yeah, it was a really good, nice read for me. So that was it. I think that's a nice number of books to have read in October, especially because I really thought I was going to get a lot less read, just because of how busy I was, and I managed to get quite a bit in, way more than I thought. So it was a really good, decent month for me. And in here were a couple of really good books for me. So I will, now that my work is winding down, I will be a lot better with BookTube. I will be posting a lot more, so keep an eye out for my videos. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.